I've always been an illustrator. Whenever I heard a story as a kid, my first instinct would be to, how would I visualise this story? And I'd make my own sort of paper and staple and crayon versions of the stories that I liked being read as a kid. Children and adults think and experience things in a hugely different way. It's much easier to get through to a child if you talk to them on their level, and that's largely by using imagination. Just telling a kid that they shouldn't do something isn't going to be as effective as having them conjure up a story as to why they shouldn't. That's why a lot of sort of classic fairy tales and things have morals in them, because they're an effective way of getting that across to young children. This is my first foray into official children's book illustration. I'd sort of done it on a more sort of casual or low-key freelance way before, but this is my first time doing it on a bigger scale. Once upon a time, there was a princess. She loved to read. She loved to play outside with her friends. She loved school. She loved to ride her horses. She loved her loyal subjects. She loved her mum and dad, the king and queen. And she was loved by all in turn, for she was smart, beautiful, brave, honest, and kind. She had everything a little girl could ever want, and she was happy. That is, until the fog came. A princess is something that's sort of, not to stereotype, but a lot of sort of young children, young girls especially, kind of aspire to be. It's the archetypical, role model for a lot of young readers. She's happy, she's very wealthy, she's obviously everyone loves her, everyone in the kingdom, but still she gets depression. And the idea was that if it can happen to her, it can happen to anyone. It's not fair. It's kind of the moral I wanted to get across there. And because it can be a strange affliction, I think especially when you're a child, it's going to be hard to kind of to manage the emotions and the thoughts that you have when you're hit with the fog. It happened slowly, so slowly that nobody really noticed at first. One by one, the strange dark clouds came to the princess, following her and gradually gathering around her head. As time went on, it got worse and worse. The clouds kept gathering and growing, until eventually her whole head was surrounded by a deep, dark fog that she could hardly see out of anymore. But still, nobody noticed. She started to feel completely alone, even when she wasn't. I was depressed myself as a child. I tried talking about it a few times when I was a kid, but it wasn't widely understood, and it was very hard to get anyone to take it seriously at the time. So I kind of used art and writing and stuff as a coping mechanism. So I'd enjoy going to these fantastic new places and coming up with these wonderful stories and reading others as well, because it was a way to kind of get away from that. I never really learned to process these complicated emotions and thoughts, because I really didn't know what they were until much later, when I was an adult, when you're allowed to have depression. Drawing was an escape then, rather than a more direct way of dealing with it. It relies very heavily on metaphor. Obviously, I never use the word depression. I never use words like therapy or medication or big scary adult words. They're going to put kids off. It's all fog, and it's all sort of uses fairy tale tropes like adventurers and wizards and things like that. But kids will appreciate the sort of the real life connections that there are to real life treatments and the real life affliction. The best way to get in touch with your inner child is just to kind of go against what you think. If you imagine sort of your teacher when you were at school, imagine them telling you what you shouldn't do. Just kind of go against the instinct that you'll have as an adult to kind of push down these things. If something's fun and it's not hurting anyone, I think just do it.